Hi, and welcome back to Football Made Simple. The Madrid derby took center stage as Zidane and Simeone pit their wits against each other at the Santiago Bernabeu. In an interesting tactical match, Zidane's men came away deserved 1-0 winners, but both Zidane and Simeone used interesting tactics, so let's take a look at this. A quick reminder of the formations initially used by both managers, as seen on the OneFootball app, which is today's video sponsor. Atleti used their usual 4-4-2 and Madrid used a 4-5-1 with plenty of midfield movement. You can download OneFootball for free through the link in the description to support the channel. Let's start with how Real attacked, as they had the majority of the possession. Real Madrid consistently looked to play out from the back through their centre backs. Atletico Madrid liked to push high up, especially the two forwards who looked to press the centre backs. Atleti kept their team fairly narrow to maintain their compactness, so Madrid kept both their fullbacks high and wide, as you can see in their average position. Early in the match, as Vitola and Morata could man-mark the centre-backs, they were often able to force Real long, where the Atletico centre-backs could dominate in the air. In fact, with this high press, Atleti were often dangerous, as soon as they won the ball, they countered with numbers, looking to move especially into the space behind the fullbacks, and Real tended to keep a high line so they were vulnerable. They often got behind Mendy, with most of their shots coming from this region. To counteract this, Real Madrid would often drop Casemiro between the centre-backs to create a 3 versus 2 and give their full-backs even more space to advance higher. Casemiro was crucial as a metronome, with the second highest total passes for their team and most attempted long balls. Atleti, realizing they were now outnumbered, dropped the high press and transitioned to a mid-block. This made things hard central for Madrid, as even when they had numbers beyond Atleti's forwards, the two midfielders had the discipline to constantly shuffle and not allow the ball past them. So Zidane avoided constantly attacking the centre, and it wasn't uncommon to see no one in zone 14 during the build-up. But generally in the first half, Toni Kroos would move deep into the left half space. At the same time, Isco, who loved being free high up, tucked into the left half space himself, dragging Visalico inwards on the pitch, and thus generating space for Mendy on the overlap. However, in the first half, as Isco is not quick, the Atleti right back could move towards Mendy, and he didn't have to worry about Isco making this run. In addition, Madrid often didn't get numbers into the box on time. Therefore, if the threat of Mendy was held up, Real could then overload the left-hand side. Atleti loved to defend narrowly, so they would shift their numbers across. At the same time, this is when Modric, Valverde, and Carvajal came into full effect. Carvajal often stuck deep and wide to draw the Atleti winger towards him, whilst Valverde was essentially a winger and stuck wide. This then gave Kroos or Casemiro the space to switch the ball towards Valverde. With the Atleti winger occupied, the fullback instead rushed out of position, and this opened up a gap for Modric to run into, which he often did, and would attempt a cross from here, as seen by an attempted joint team-high 5 crosses. But of course, it is better to have a genuine winger crossing, and Zidane gave his team additional width in the second half by introducing Vinicius and Vasquez. This was most effective in the attacks down the left-hand side. They staggered their midfield, with Valverde highest, thus pushing Atleti deep into a low 4-4-2 block. Modric now often dropped between the centre-backs, so Ramos moved towards the left, and Vinicius would start wide initially. As soon as Ramos moved it wide, it triggered Mendy to rush forward, and depending on Vinicius' movement, he would either overlap or underlap. Either had the pace to lose their marker and dip behind the fullback and attempt a cross from this region. And this is exactly how the goal came about, with Mendy and Vinicius linking up well to get the ball towards Benzema. But let's look at how Simeone looked to hurt Real Madrid. Atleti built through the centre-backs but weren't bent on playing out, and Real were incredibly effective in their high press, with a midfielder joining Benzema, so they were pressing in a 4-4-2, and they pushed the defensive line high to support this. The Atleti centre-backs aren't risk-takers and would often immediately go long, and Real's great pressing is shown by averaging just 6 passes per defensive action. When forced into a long ball, they wouldn't be in the right position for a second ball. However, at times when they intentionally played over the press, they would shift their numbers wide, or an overload, to then play it long and try and win the second ball. But Atleti often looked to use Real's man marking against them. When the ball went wide to their fullbacks, Atleti knew the Real fullbacks would press them wherever they went, so they often dropped deeper, and with the forwards attacking the centre-backs, it was the Atleti central midfielders often breaking into the space behind the fullbacks to try and get on the ball to cross, and in fact, Partey attempted the second highest crosses. However, from these positions, they were often ineffective in getting the ball into the box. In fact, their attacking threat in general was limited, with only 4 shots in total, and this XG time map shows that even when they were behind, they struggled to be any sort of goal-scoring threat. This is something Simeone will want to improve, with the Champions League tie against Liverpool in the back of his mind. But what did you make of the match? Drop anything you noticed tactically down below, and let's start a discussion. But that's all for today, and remember, keep it simple.